Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the KMoore Sports Report. I am your host, Ken Moore. This morning, we're going to break down the big AFC showdown coming up in a couple of hours. The 0-2 Indianapolis Colts coming in to take on the first place 1-1 Tennessee Titans. So get your cup of coffee ready. I got mine ready. We're going to have a great show. About 10:30, 10:35, we'll look at the final inactive report, who's in, who's out for both ball clubs. We'll also take a look at 6 other games around the AFC to see who's going to be victorious this afternoon in my Pick 6 predictions. And then, of course, we'll take a look at some film study. We'll take a look at what the Titans did good, what the Titans did bad last week against the Seattle Seahawks. And we'll do all of that and much more coming up right now on the KMoore Sports Report. So thank you guys for hopping in this morning. It's going to be a big, big day. Of course, the Titans can take complete control of the AFC South if they can do what they need to do today against a battered and injured Indianapolis Colts ball club. So before we get started, as usual, let's take a look at some of our housekeeping duties before we get things going. Of course, if you guys are new to the show, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit the like button. Please hit that notification bell and share the video out to your friends so we can get more participation in the show. Also, as well, for my Venmo users, if you have a Venmo account and you want to donate to the show, you can do so at Kenneth-Moore-8667 if you want to donate to the show. Kind of like a super chat, not really a super chat, but has the same value as a super chat. And of course, on the social media platforms, you can follow me on Twitter at KMoore Sports, and then also on Instagram at KenMoore Sports. So thank you guys for hopping in so far this morning. AZ Mike is in the house. What's up? Should be a huge, huge day. Should be a really, really, really big day. Clowney Super Bowl in the house. Hopefully Fulton can lock those receivers up. We're going to talk about that in just a moment when we go into film study, kind of let you know what the Titans did good in the second half last week, what they didn't do in the first half, and what their game plan may be today against the Indianapolis Colts defense. And why don't we get ready to dive right into that? Something new to the show that we're going to do, and we're going to call it Titans Film Study. And this is where we're going to look back at a couple of plays from that Seattle game and kind of see what the Titans did good in that matchup. So we're going to pull those videos up here just in a moment so you guys can kind of take a look. Now, the first play that I'm going to show you guys is going to be from the first half. It's going to be that first play where the second series of the game where Tyler Lockett got very deep on McDougal in the secondary. But what I'm going to show you here is that it really was not McDougal's fault. And we got to give Shane Bowen a lot of credit for making some adjustments in the second half. So first and foremost, sorry for the screen being a little bit small, but I tried to highlight some things for you here that you can kind of look forward to today. Now, on this particular play, again, this was the second series of the game. This was Russell Wilson's first deep throw to Tyler Lockett that beat McDougal deep. Here's McDougal back here. He's got the football hovering over his head. This is the pre-snap alignment. This is what Russell Wilson sees. So he saw 3 receivers to the top of the screen. They have the red lines behind them. Those are all the eligible receivers. You're running back in the backfield, and you had a tight end down here to the right. This is where the Titans made their mistake on this particular play. Jackrabbit Jenkins and Kevin Byard are down here on the left side, but they're only covering one receiver. So you have 2 defensive backs covering one receiver. That was the mistake in alignment. Secondly, up top, so you have 3 receivers for Seattle, 3 defenders for Tennessee, but one of those defenders is Harold Landry. I have him highlighted with the number 58. So you got Harold Landry lined up opposite of Tyler Lockett. This was an assignment mistake in the first half. So Russell Wilson already sees, okay, I got Tyler Lockett lined up on Harold Landry, and I got a deep safety in McDougal, who's a backup. So he automatically knows that he's going to take that route. So that's pre-snap. This is what actually happened on the play. So once we go to the next play, you'll see here the end result of that. This is McDougal up top, one-on-one with Tyler Lockett. Had decent coverage, but Tyler Lockett is just too fast for him, outran him for the football. But the important part is down here at the bottom of the screen, because you can see Jackrabbit Jenkins, we showed you in the pre-snap, he and Byard were covering two people. So when the play snaps, he's got this whole side of the field with no defender. So this is just a wasted player in this area where he could be on the other side of the field helping out McDougal. So this was a mistake, a blown coverage by the Titans. This was in the first half of the game. But what Shane Bowen did in the second half of the game is he made an adjustment. And this is the adjustment that he made as we go to the final screen here. This is a play in the second half of the ball game. You see, this is third quarter, 8:27 left in the third quarter. The adjustment that he made now, instead of having four defensive backs on the field, now he went to nickel coverage for most of the second half. So you got Christian Fulton, you got Chris Jackson, who was inserted into the ball game to replace one of the defensive linebackers. In this case, Denico Autry is out of the ball game. You still got Bud Dupree. You still have Harold Landry on the top. But now you only have two defensive linemen. So the adjustment the Titans made, they went to five defensive backs. You still got Jackrabbit Jenkins and Kevin Byard on the top side. But now you got 29 in the backfield. You got Cruikshank. And Cruikshank had a very, very good ball game last week. So the question will be this week against the Indianapolis Colts, will you see more of the Titans in dime coverage like they did in the nickel coverage like we did in the second half with five defensive backs? Or will you see more of the Titans in their standard 3-4 defense with four defensive backs? I believe against the Colts, you're going to have to mix it up. The reason why, they don't get a lot of production from their outside receivers, but they do get a lot of protection from their backs out of the backfield. Hines, their third down back, led them in receptions last year. They have Marlon back from an Achilles injury, and of course they have Jonathan Taylor. All three of those guys can be effective out of the backfield. So the Titans are going to have to be on high alert. We don't know yet, if Jayon Brown is going to play today. He was downgraded to questionable. We should have the inactive list probably in the next 5 to 10 minutes. So we'll find out if Jayon Brown is playing or not. If he is not playing, then of course you're going to have David Long in that position once again. And David Long had a pretty good ball game last week. So we'll find out what he can do. But that's just a little bit of Titans film study, what they did good last week, what they didn't do so well last week. So if you guys have any comments or questions about that, we'll be happy to look at that for you. As I mentioned, we'll have the inactive list coming up here momentarily. While we wait on that inactive list, let's hop over to the comments section, see what you guys are talking about this morning, see what you guys think is going to happen during this ball game today. And then, of course, we'll have our pick six predictions coming up a little bit after the inactive list. Ian in the house, good morning. Let's go. Man, I got my coffee ready. I always need a good cup of coffee in the morning to get those juices flowing. It should be a great game. Byard truly is the leader of that defense. Byard had a pretty good game last week. He's important because he's one of the veterans that has been here for a while. Of course, Jackrabbit Jenkins is a veteran, but this is his first year with the ball club. So it's really up to Kevin Byard to lead that group. And then, of course, we know that Christian Fulton has been outstanding so far through the first two ball games of this year. Now, on the other side for the Colts, we saw their game last week against the Rams. Colts had a really disappointing game, so to speak, but statistically, they were very even with the Rams throughout that ball game. That game really turned in the first half. The Colts had two drives that they got down inside the 5-yard line of the Rams, and they could not convert into points. Two drives inside the 5, and they could not convert those into points. They had an interception on a shovel pass on one play, and on the other drive, they went for it on 4th down. Wentz got sacked, and that was the end of that. So the Colts could have easily won that game last week. A lot of times when you're looking at the wins and loss column, it can come down to one play, one mistake, one bad break. Now, of course, the Rams had a bad break in that game as well. They had a punt that hit one of the up men on the snap and rolled into the end zone, and the Colts got a free touchdown out of that. So that kind of evened out with what did not happen in the first half with the Colts as well, not being able to score. So all in all, the Colts come into this ball game. They're 0-2 on the season. This is a must-win for Indianapolis. If they go down 0-3, then they have Miami next week. Now, the Miami game next week for Indy doesn't look as tough as it did when the schedule began because Tua Tagovailoa, he's going to be out for at least the next 3 weeks with a hip or broken ribs. So they'll get to face their old teammate, Jacoby Brissett, next week. So that may be a victory for the Colts. And then they have the Baltimore Ravens after that. So if Indy loses today, they could be looking at a 1-4 start. Contrast that to the Titans, who after today, we have the Jets and the Jaguars. I think it's in different order. The Jaguars, then the Jets. But nevertheless, you're facing 3 teams in a row, the Colts, the Jags, the Jets, who have not won a football game yet this season. So it's really, really great opportunity for if the Titans can run these next 3 games, get to 4-1. Say the Colts only go 1-2 over the next 3 weeks. They end up 1-4 coming out of the first 5 weeks of the season. The Titans will have a huge, huge advantage as we get into the tough part of our schedule, because after the Jets and Jags, then, of course, you got Buffalo, you got Kansas City, you have Pittsburgh and New England on the road later in the year. So you have those tough ball games coming up. You got Houston sprinkled in there a little bit, which should be, I won't say it'll be easy because it's never easy against Houston. But you don't know who their quarterback obviously is going to be by the time we play those guys. But this is a golden opportunity for the Titans over the next 3 weeks to really seize control of the AFC South. Let's see who else we got in the house this morning. My guys, Two-Tone Zone, man, I've been checking you guys out. You guys have some great content. Please go check out Two-Tone Zone if you have not. Those guys always have great shows. They are very good watch, really positive brothers. Really love having them on the show. I'm going to have to get those guys back on the show in the coming weeks. But thank you guys for hopping in, and definitely hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Help both of us out get to that magical number. Of course, you all know that we have the Titans the Day After show. We will have that show tomorrow night. That show will come on at 9 o'clock tomorrow, so a little after halftime of the Sunday night football game. We'll have that show coming up tomorrow night. So let's take a look here. Let me take a look and see if this inactive list is out yet. So bear with me for a couple of moments. It should be up by now. So let's take a look and see what we got as far as the inactives go. Let's first check the Tennessee Titans. Let's see who's in and who's out. Oh, my. All right. So here we go with the Titans inactives. Caleb Farley, we knew he was out, the backup, #1 draft pick. He still has a shoulder injury. Anthony Firkser did not play last week. He's out again. So that means Hudson is up from the practice squad. We'll see a lot more, hopefully, of Michael Pruitt. Hopefully, we'll see a lot less of Swain, who was absolutely horrible last week. Swain and A.J. Brown, I thought, had 2 of the worst games last week against the Colts. Swain missed at least half a dozen blocks that led to either little or no gain for Derrick Henry in the backfield or put Tannehill under tremendous pressure in the pocket. So Anthony Firkser is out. Josh Reynolds is out today. He is inactive. So we may see Cam Batson for the first time today. Josh Reynolds out. He hasn't done anything since he's been here. Bad signing so far. Offensive line or outside linebacker, Derek Roberson. He is out for the second consecutive game. So he is out of the lineup. Naquan Jones, who we thought may be activated this week, he is inactive. He's still on the 53, but Naquan Jones is inactive. And here's the big one, a surprise. Kare Blasingame is out today. He is inactive. So Derrick Henry does not have his protector, does not have his fullback. So Blasingame out today for the Tennessee Titans. So again, to recap the Titans, Farley, Firkser, Josh Reynolds, Derek Roberson, Naquan Jones, and Kare Blasingame all out today for the Tennessee Titans. Now let's see if we can find the Indianapolis Colts. Let's see what's going on with Carson Wentz. If I can type. All right. Inactives for the Colts. Marlon Mack. That's pretty big. He's one of their best receiving backs out of the backfield. So Mack is inactive. Their starting right tackle, Brandon Smith, we knew that he would be out. He is inactive. Guard tackle, Will Fries. Cornerback, Bo Pete Keys. Wide receiver, Michael Stratton. And defensive tackle, Taylor Stallworth. Defensive end, Isaac Rochelle. Those guys are inactive. So the 2 big names on the Colts list, running back Marlon Mack, tackle Brandon Smith, both of those guys inactive. Obviously, that means that Carson Wentz is active. Carson Wentz is expected to start today. They did bring Brett Hundley up from the practice squad. So the Colts should have 3 active quarterbacks on their roster today. So that's going to be interesting news. So what do you guys think? Carson Wentz, do you think he helps the Colts today? Do you think the Titans pressure? The Titans have been able to pressure the quarterback a lot here in the first couple of games of this season. Unfortunately, when you're facing Russell Wilson and you're facing Kyler Murray, those pressures aren't going to result in a lot of sacks. So that's what happened there as far as that goes. So again, the Colts, the Titans, those are the inactive. So you guys' thoughts on the inactive list. Let's see what you guys think about what's going on there. Ian says A.J. Brown. And A.J. Brown was blocking last week. A.J. Brown's going to have to do a lot more than block. And look, I don't know if you guys looked at the highlights or if you guys have looked at the stat sheet. Cooper Kupp of the Rams absolutely destroyed the Indianapolis Colts last week. They lined him up all over the field, on the outside, on the inside. They even lined up Cooper Kupp in the backfield, came out of the backfield and caught a touchdown pass. The Rams did a lot of bubble screens last week to take advantage of their speed and size on the outside. I'm hoping the Titans will do the same today with A.J. Brown, with Julio Jones. Big, strong, fast receivers. Get them on the boundaries and let them get some yardage after the catch on the screen pass. Of course, we also saw Derrick Henry last week do a lot of damage in the screen pass as well. So hopefully we'll get Derrick Henry more involved in the offense as well. This is going to be a huge, huge game for both of these ball clubs, particularly so more for the Indianapolis Colts. Now, I touched on Greg Swain earlier. He's taken over for Firsker as kind of the starting tight end with Michael Pruitt and Hudson kind of being the backups when we go to that 3 tight end alignment. Swain had an atrocious ball game last week. I mean, there were many, many times where either the outside linebacker or the defensive end got inside of his block just too quick, and Swain was way too slow. So hopefully he corrected some things in practice this week so that the Titans don't get off to a slow start in this game today. The Titans need to come out aggressive. Todd Downing needs to be aggressive as well with his play calling. Don't wait till your team gets down by 2 touchdowns before you open up the ball game. Don't start the ball game with 2 runs on 1st and 2nd down to Derrick Henry. But we're probably going to see it again because that's been the MO. That's been the game plan for the first 2 weeks. So hopefully Todd Downing will shake things up this week, make this team a little bit more aggressive. But as we showed in the film study earlier, you have to give a lot of credit to Shane Bowen last week for making the halftime adjustment. Seattle only scored 1 touchdown in the second half of that ball game after we had 6 quarters of horrible defense. The first 4 quarters against Arizona, and then, of course, the last 2 quarters the first 2 quarters against Seattle last week. Now, one more look into the Colts. They have really struggled on their offensive line. The Titans have been pretty good defensively. Bud Dupree will play today. Obviously, Harold Landry will play today. Rashad Evans, I believe this is going to be a big game for Rashad Evans because the Colts like to run the football. They don't want to have Carson Wentz dropping back, throwing 35, 40 times, especially on 2 bad ankles. Or if he has to leave the ball game, one of those backups come in. So the Colts are going to lean heavily on the run game this afternoon. And I think that's where Rashad Evans has to make an impact. He's been pretty invisible through the first couple of ball games. He hasn't been bad. It hasn't been great. He's just kind of been out there. So it's going to be very much up to Rashad Evans to have a big ball game this afternoon. So now we're going to get into the next segment of our show. We're going to look at our Pick 6 predictions, 6 ball games, including the Colts-Titans game. And I've had a very good year so far. Through the first 2 weeks of the season, 8 wins, 3 losses, 1 tie. So that's over 75% hit rate. So if you guys like to gamble on the games, if you guys or any type of elimination pools and you want to get your picks in, or if you want, if you got things going on with your friends, we're going to go to our Pick 6 predictions and get our picks for the week. Give me one moment on that and we'll get that set up for you. Again, these have been pretty proud of my picks so far this year. I'm 2-0 on Titans games so far this year. I picked Arizona to cover them. These picks are against the spread. So these are not just wins and losses. These are picks against the spread. So we'll get those up and running for you here. Give me a couple of seconds to get these loaded for you. All right, and here we go. All right, here we go with the Pick 6 predictions. First up, we got the Arizona Cardinals and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars have been absolutely atrocious so far this season. They have been terrible. Urban Meyer, they probably have assembled the worst coaching staff in the NFL. The Cardinals come in as 7.5-point favorites on the road. Normally, I don't like to give up this many points, but the Arizona offense has looked outstanding so far this year. Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, Rondale Moore, a rookie. He's really had a tremendous season. So we have the Cardinals plus 7.5. Next game on the board, the Raiders and the Miami Dolphins. The Raiders have been a surprise team of the NFL so far this season. 2-0, two big wins against the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. Today, they come in at home, back in Vegas. They are 3.5-point favorite against Miami. We think the Raiders go to 3-0 on the season. Miami has a backup quarterback, Jacoby Brissett. They got shut out last week by the Buffalo Bills. Now, I don't think their offense is as bad as it showed last week, but we don't think Jacoby Brissett can get the job done. We got the Raiders plus 3.5. The big Sunday night game tonight. The world champion, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, going into Los Angeles SoFi Stadium to take on the Rams. Two undefeated teams. We just talked about the Rams. They had a big win last week in Indianapolis. Cooper Kupp had 9 receptions for over 100 yards. But I still think the Rams are a little bit overrated when you compare the two quarterbacks. Tom Brady, 7 world championships. Matthew Stafford does not have a playoff win in his career. I think this will be a tremendous ball game tonight. I'm going to take Tampa Bay on the road minus 1.5 points. Now we head out east. The New Orleans Saints, Jameis Winston. They go to New England to take on Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. The Saints have been up and down so far through the first 2 weeks. We don't know who they are. They've been living out of a hotel for the last 2 months after Hurricane Ida displaced them to Dallas. They go on the road for the second straight week. They got pummeled last week by the Carolina Panthers, but they had 5 defensive starters out, and they had 8 coaches back. They have all of their coaches back except 2. The only player missing today for the Saints will be their starting center. The Patriots are 1-1 on the season, but they haven't looked great offensively. I'm going to take the Saints plus 3.5 points. We're going to take the Saints plus 3.5. Now, we go to an AFC West showdown. Justin Herbert and the LA Chargers against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs come in as a big favorite in this ball game today, but they lost to the Chargers last week. Also, Kansas City has not been as dominant over the last year as they have been. They're winning games, but they're winning close games. The Chargers are a 6.5-point underdog today. I think that's way too many points in a divisional game. The Chargers look like a very, very good ball club this year. New coaching staff. Eckler's back. We're going to take those 6.5 points and the Los Angeles Chargers. Now the big game that you guys have all been waiting for, the Colts and the Titans. The Colts come in as a 5.5-point underdog. Tennessee Titans, of course, had the big comeback win last week. But we all know the Titans in this type of situation. Home games against the Colts the last 3 years, the Colts have won 3 in a row in Nissan Stadium. The Titans should dominate this game, both statistically and on the scoreboard. But somehow, some way, I think the Indianapolis Colts find a way to keep this game close. I think 5.5 points is too much. I think the Colts find a way to cover the spread. I'm not saying the Colts are going to win the game, but I think the Colts find a way to cover the spread. They cover the 5.5 points. The Titans may have like a 10-point lead late in the fourth quarter. Colts probably get a late touchdown to cut it within the spread. So wonder what you guys think about the game today. I have the Colts plus 5.5. The Titans, man, I just hope they can come out. They can find a way to be aggressive in this ball game. I'm wondering what you guys' thoughts on the ball game. What are your predictions? What are your keys to the Titans coming out on top in this ball game today? Because now we know that Carson Wentz is going to play. So let's see what you guys think about this one. Let's see who else we got in the house. Anthony Hayes is in the house. What's up, buddy? Thanks for joining us. Pig Winkle in the house. First appearance. Welcome to the show, man. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that like button. Sin City Titans in the house. He's going to take the 5.5, 34-20 Titans. And I'm really thinking something along those lines, 33-20, 30-20. But I think it could be a situations where the Titans may have a 2-score lead. They play a little bit of prevent defense. allow the Colts to go down and get a last-second score to get within the number. So we'll kind of see how that plays out. We don't really, it's going to be a tremendous ball game. I think the Colts are going to come out with a lot of pride in this ball game because defensively, expect them to try to put a lot of pressure on Ryan Tannehill. Expect them to sell out on the run against Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, of course, has had 3 consecutive 100-yard games against the Colts. Had a huge game in Indy last year. So it should be a tremendous showing, I think, for Derrick Henry. I think he's going to have another big ball game. And, man, I really can't wait till we get Darrington Evans back because I think he can add another element that Sargent and Jeremy Nichols just doesn't add. Now, Jeremy Nichols had a very big impact on the game late in that fourth quarter. He caught like 2 or 3 passes in a row from Ryan Tannehill when Derrick Henry had to get a breather. So Jerry McNichols could be huge in this ball game today as a backup for Derrick Henry. Ian has his score prediction. He says he's going to go with the Titans 24-17. All right, I can respect that. I can definitely respect that. Sin City, you think Wentz will finish the game? They have 3 quarterbacks up. I can't imagine them doing that for no reason. And again, the Colts are desperate. That's why they have 3 quarterbacks on the roster today. And from what I understand, they have not entirely sold on Jacob Eason, who was their 4th-round pick a year ago, his 2nd year in the system. Now, of course, last year was a COVID year, so he didn't get a lot of reps, in training camp or during the season. So they brought up Brett Hundley. Brett Hundley has had an inauspicious career. He was actually in the Titans training camp for a while, I believe, this summer before he got cut. Started his career with Green Bay behind Aaron Rodgers. So if they have to go to either of those guys, it's going to be a problem for the Colts today. The Titans should be able to take advantage of that with their run defense, with their pass defense. Just don't make any mistakes in the secondary. I'd expect Cruikshank to be back there again in that free safety role next to Kevin Byard. So hopefully he can continue his good performance. And then another factor, as always, we don't talk about a lot, special teams. Randy Bullock last week, he was 4 for 5. He hit the game winner, but he missed a short, I believe, 33, 36-yard field goal early in the fourth quarter. Most of his kicks that were good, they barely squeezed inside the uprights. So I'm concerned about Randy Bullock. If he has to kick, say, 45, 50-yard field goal, the way his kicks seem to sail on him, I'm concerned about his accuracy today, especially being outside in the environment. Should be nice weather in Nashville, I believe, this afternoon. But again, I don't trust Randy Bullock. Of course, you hope that Brett Kern has a good day punting the football. Hopefully, we won't see a lot of Brett Kern today. But if we do have to see a lot of Brett Kern today, we hope that he has a really good day kicking the football. And then on the other end, on the kickoff returns, did you guys notice Chester Rogers barely got back to the 20-yard line on those kickoffs last week against Seattle? Seattle did not kick the ball through the end zone. They placed it where it landed at the goal line or at the 1-yard line, so the Titans had to return it out. And the Titans' return game has been horrible through the first couple of weeks of the season. Chester Rogers and that return unit, they were tremendous in the preseason. That's part of the reason he won the job as the 3rd receiver, because he could also return kicks. But him and that special teams, they have to do a better job on kickoff returns, particularly if the Colts try to place the ball at the goal line, forcing the Titans to return it out. And speaking of special teams for the Colts, they have an excellent kicker. Their kicker, the kid that wears the goggles, he has not missed a kick this year. He only missed a couple of kicks last year. Now, he doesn't have a big leg. He's not going to kill you from 55 or 60 yards, but from 50 yards and in, this guy is an absolute stud. So the Colts will definitely have the advantage going into this game in special teams. So hopefully the Titans can force some turnovers. They can get some short fields for Ryan Tannehill and the crew. We haven't had many drives that have started at the 40 or 50-yard line. Many of our drives have started inside our own 25-yard line, making the offense have to go 75, 80 yards. The Colts still have a good defense, even though they haven't shown it a lot this year, they still have a really good defense. So you don't want to put your offense in those type of situations where you having to go 75, 80 yards for the ball game. So we'll see how that goes. Sin City, yes, Blankenship. Blankenship is definitely reliable. Hopefully we can count on Randy Bullock. Randy Bullock's not my favorite ex-Texan, another ex-Texan. You guys know how I feel about ex-Texans, but he's our kicker for the foreseeable future because we don't know when Ficken is coming back. From my understanding, Ficken is going to be out a while. He can come off of IR in week 4, but he had a bad groin injury. That's an injury that could keep him out maybe half the season, maybe the entire season. So we don't know if we're going to get Ficken back at all. So hopefully we can count on Randy Bullock. Well, guys, that is the pregame show for tonight, I think, or for this morning. I thank you guys for joining me. Again, coming up tomorrow night, we're going to have Titans the day after. Of course, where we break down the game, look at everything that happened, why the Titans won, why the Titans lost. We'll take a look at that tomorrow night, 9 o'clock here on the channel. So what you guys can do for me before you leave, again, if you want to donate to the show as we get ready to turn it over to the big networks, so you guys can see what's going on there. I think Titan Upload, I don't think he's going to have a show today. His weekly watch party, I think he's at the game in Nashville today. So not sure if he's going to have a show today. If something really, really crazy happens today, we may come back after the game and have a quick post-game show. So watch that notification bell. If something crazy happens in this ball game today that we need to talk about immediately, we'll have a post-game show after the game today. If not, we will definitely have our Titans Day After show on tomorrow. So if you will, if you have Venmo, you can donate to the show at Kenneth-Moore-8667. Of course, most importantly, more than anything, really need you guys to subscribe to the show. Trying to get up to 300 over the next week. I think we have about 23 we need. So find 23 friends, get it out there so we can get up to that magical 300 number. Of course, you guys can find me on Twitter where you'll get all my information. I will be live tweeting throughout the game. So you guys definitely want to follow me on Twitter so I can give you my instant reaction as to what's going on the field. And then, of course, you guys can also find me on Instagram at KMoore Sports on Instagram. I think we have a few more comments, so we'll keep this going, see what else you guys have up until the top of the hour. Let's see what we got. Courtney in the house. What's up, bro? Tighten up. Let's go. Man, I really want these guys to come out. Don't come out flat. Please don't come out flat. Don't come out conservative in this ball game today. If you come out and you're aggressive and you still lose the ball game, I can deal with that. The things that makes my blood boil is when we come out flat. We come out flat and we don't have the necessary juice to take control of the ball game. So hopefully Todd Downing and Mike Vrabel, they come out with a gunslinger mentality because you know Frank Wright. Frank Wright is going to come out aggressive. He's going to go for it on 4th down, come hell or high water, for good or for bad. He's not going to change his MO. So we definitely need that. Sin City, closer to 3K. Hey, man, 3K would be awesome. Need you guys to get the word out. You guys help me and I'll help you. We get the 3K, we'll be doing shows every day. So let's get it going. Let's get it going. And, of course, he said, yeah, Upload and Rossi just got into the stadium. So I'm glad those guys made it safe. I know Upload had like a 7-hour drive from Chicago down to Nashville. So I'm glad that those guys made it safe. And hopefully they can bring us they can hit us. Victory. Who else is going to the game? William Jones. He's headed to the game right now. Man, thanks for tuning in on your drive into the game. I'm glad. And this is a show that we try to dedicate truly to the Titans, because we know on the national shows, they're not going to touch much on the Titans-Colts game or anybody that the Titans are playing. So that's why we like to do this show on Sunday morning, so we get the late-breaking news, that inactive list, that injury report, the predictions, so we can let you guys know from a Titans perspective and from whoever they're playing. If you're friends, Colts, Jags, Texans, whoever in the division, you definitely want to have them tune into this show. Drum star in the house. We need to bring that heat on Wentz repeatedly. Remember the last time Wentz came to Nissan Stadium when he was a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. The Titans won that game in overtime. I think it was Mariota to Corey Davis. And that was a tremendous ball game, but we were able to get a lot of pressure on Wentz in that ball game. So hopefully the Titans, Bud Dupree, I want to see Bud Dupree have a breakout game today. He's been close on a couple of sacks this year. I think with Carson Wentz, who we don't know how mobile he will be today, hopefully Bud Dupree can have a breakout game. And, of course, we haven't mentioned Denico Autry going up against his former ball club. Hopefully he was able to give the Titans some intel on what to expect from the Colts. Obviously, he knows that organization very well. So we hope that Autry, he knows that offensive line of Indy. He knows what their tendencies are. So he should be able to provide some very, very good insight for those defensive linemen on what to expect. We need Jeffrey Simmons to have a big game. We haven't heard a lot from Big Jeff so far this year. So we need Jeffrey Simmons, Denico Autry, Bud Dupree, Harold Landry. We need that front four. We need that front four to have a big, big game. King Henry, Julio have a big game. AJ bounces back. I expect all those guys to have a big game today, especially AJ Brown. AJ Brown is too good of a receiver to be out there dropping footballs the way he has the first couple of weeks of the season. I think he's still kind of in his mind. He may still be worried a little bit about his knees. And speaking of knees, Taylor Lewan is active today. Taylor Lewan has been a hot button all year. So he should get the start at left tackle today. Now, Sambrello did an outstanding job last week at left tackle. That's going to be one to watch today. Taylor Lewan. You got DeForest Bruckner. You got Darius Leonard. You know the Colts are going to bring guys off the edges. They're going to challenge Taylor Lewan today. As we mentioned, Swain has had trouble blocking as well. So Roger Saffold got hurt last week. Aaron Brewer had to go into the ball game. Saffold is active. Taylor Lewan, those guys are both active today. So the left side of that offensive line for Tennessee, what was supposed to be a strength, it's been a weakness so far this year. The backups, Brewer and Sambrello, have played better than the starters, Taylor Lewan and Roger Saffold. So watching the game today, guys, keep an eye on the left side of that offensive line. Taylor Lewan, look, if he's not productive, Mike Vrabel is going to have to get him out of there. He's going to have to put Sambrello back in the ballgame. Roger Saffold, if he's unproductive, they're going to have to go with Aaron Brewer and put him in the ballgame. So the left side of that offensive line, guys, keep an eye on that. That's something we'll be talking about tomorrow night. We'll keep an eye on that left side to see how it goes. So as they mentioned, we are 1 hour away from kickoff. I'm going to go get myself prepared to watch this ball game today. Again, if it's something crazy that happens, we'll have an immediate post-game show after the game. If not, of course, we'll have our usual Titans the day after coming up tomorrow. So thank you guys, as always, for getting up with me. I really, really, really appreciate it. KMoore Sports Report loves you guys. And we'll see you guys tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. Hit that notification bell. Share the video out. And as always, tighten up. Let's go Titans. Let's go to 2-1 on the season. And let's take over the division. You guys have a great day. Enjoy the ball games, and good luck on your pick six predictions. See you guys tomorrow night. Have a good one.